Hello, everyone. Welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It's the 18th of June of 2025.
Ooh, wait, hold on, wait. Hold on, wait. If I'm saying the 18th, then it would be Decimo Ochavo?
No.
Damn. All right, well, I tried.
18.
No, that's 18. I'm talking about 18th.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different word, I believe.
Oh, 18, I think would be it.
Something like that. Yeah, ochenta. I knew it was something like that.
No, ochenta's 80. No, ochenta's 80, sorry. Oh.
I don't know. It's weird. All right, look. That's why I try. You miss 100% of shots you don't take. Someone will correct me, and then I'll feel like I've learned, but I'll instantly forget it. But I will eventually learn. So that's the important thing. Yeah. Miss 100% of the shots you don't take, which used to be able to like jokingly attribute to anybody. But now that the guy who actually said is a dickhead, you actually can just attribute it to anybody. Goofy said that.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
And then he falls down the stairs, just like Goofy would.
Well, he tried.
Yeah, he would have missed that shot anyway. Well, actually, I guess
he didn't spread hatred because he's Goofy.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have a bunch of manga to talk about. Do you have anything you wanted to bring up before we start talking about that?
Not in particular. All the exciting cat stuff kind of goes a little bit downhill after you discover the cats.
Yeah.
For the first time. Ravi's doing fine. If anyone is worried, I think he's getting bigger. It's kind of hard to tell when you just like have him constantly like being in your lap.
Does he move a lot when you like pick him up and put him down? Because I was gonna say you could try weighing him.
We could try doing that, but we would have to have a scale we use regularly.
Gotcha. That is the hang up in all of it. Nick, I do have a small thing to share. I'm going back to school, and one of the parts of that is unfortunately I have to take a math placement test again to try to figure out where I am. I've never felt so stupid than when I do these math placement tests. You get 3 shots. I have 1 left. I'll let everybody know what the result is. But the first 2, the first one was bad. The first one was like 7 straight questions that I was like, I have no idea. I don't know what it means that the word log is in my equation. I don't know this shit. This is all foreign to me. And then you just, of course, you sit there and you're like, I know at some point in time I knew the fucking formula to finding the volume of a cylinder, but I don't know it anymore.
Yeah. A lot of those I don't think are actually like very good things in terms of measuring like actual like, how well you take to math. It's just a matter of like practice and remembering them. There are so many things like a lot of my job is math now, but there are so many things I learned in high school that I would not be able to do in the same scenario. Yeah. I would have to like sit there for several minutes and remember it, and hopefully I would remember how to do it correctly. So it's one of those things where like practice makes perfect, and if you don't practice the skill, then it does diminish. So I wouldn't feel too bad about that.
And yet, at that same time, when am I going to, like, after this, and presumably I'm not taking a math course that then follows up on it, when am I going to need to remember I'm trying to think of one of the other things that I've run into that truly screwed me up. Word problems, Nick, are messing me up because I keep reading them, and I'm like, I comprehend this word problem, but then I sit there and I'm like, but I don't know how to solve this. I just know that I need to know 2 things, and I don't know how to figure out either one of them right now.
It's, yeah, I mean, Nicole was also taking like an assessment thing for like some sort of work search thing recently. and it was really killing me because I was kind of like watching her do it, and I was like, I need to stop paying attention because otherwise I'm going to like be like, no, what's this? Like but it's not like, any measure of like, I'm smarter than you. It's like, no, it's that I do this every day. Like I just remember how to do it because I'm doing it all the time.
The thing that really blindsided me is, I prepared for the first math assessment the best I could. I was like, I don't remember that. I'd like figure out like sides of the triangle and stuff like that, angles. Like, let's look up some of that stuff. Like I did a little like refamiliarizing. I ended up taking a practice test that I got like an 85 on. I was like, you know what, that's good, but here are the weak spots I'm going to improve. The test I took was nothing like the real one. They didn't give you like a grade, but it was very clearly like you're going to want to take this again, and here's a guided program to teach you all the things you've forgotten. And I'm like, okay, fair enough.
I mean, it is important to know what your level is if you're going to be going back into school and stuff, and I get that. But yeah, there is certainly like a level of like if you're told like you need to start over from middle school, where it's like,
here's the thing. It's honestly the thing I need to remind myself the most on is that no matter how poorly this goes, it will not go as bad as my older brother Mikey, who took his math placement test and had to start his college courses learning long division again. And I was like, Mikey, how many courses did you have to do that get you no math credit whatsoever? Because that's super far away. Like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, these are things I haven't remembered since, high school, whatever. I was like, I think I started doing long division in 4th grade. I definitely didn't have to go back into elementary school for this.
I remember a time where I saw like the advertisement for like, are you smarter than the 3rd grader or whatever and stuff, and I was like, where the hell do you get these stupid people? And then I realized, it's because when we're kids we're taught skills that nobody retains because we don't ever have to use them.
If there was like a history placement test, I would be getting eviscerated right now. They'd be like, I don't think you should be going to like, you need to like start from the beginning. We're enrolling you in kindergarten again. You're just going to do the history classes, but you are going to have to.
It's all dates. It's all that it is. You can.
There's some other stuff. The problem is that I went to Catholic school, so we had religion class, which was another class you were graded on, which was just a more boring history class. So when you're also kind of learning dates and names and that, it just all blends together, and you're just like, I'm just going to draw Pokemon in my book instead. I'm sorry, this sucks.
In 1492, Moses said, you must free the Jews. Sorry.
That was actually pretty clever of you. And on that note, we're not going to do better than that. Let's start talking about the recap section of Weekly Manga Recap.
Yeah, we'll begin with Ichi the Witch. It's 38th hunt. Give me a hug! We got a flashback at the beginning of this chapter of Richiya and Gokuraku, as Richiya says to herself, when was it that he started looking at me with such sad eyes? And it seems to be one of those times that Gokuraku was going to, go and visit their mother's grave, and Richiya, didn't have that sadness in her currently. In the present, she's searching the streets for her brother, and she stumbles when there's a massive quaking in the ground because, there's a giant tapir being bound over here, and there's a guy punching really hard over here, so the ground is shaking. And so, of course, she gets really worried for her brother, and as she's calling for him, the joyous sorrow magic appears, posing as a citizen in distress. And so Richiya rushes over to him, asks if he's hurt, and he looks up with a trustworthy expression, a face that says, "It's good that you came over here, and you won't run away screaming from me."
You should be glad that you made the decision to converse with me, a stranger, right now.
come down here into the sewer and you'll get one of these balloons.
Oh boy. Everything floats down here.
Yeah, floating.
This is the best. Oh no, big spider.
The Joyous Sorrow grabs onto Richiya and says, "Oh, you've done well to run to my aid."
Nick, I don't want to interrupt. I'm gonna tangent this for a second. How different would the story of it be if what was his name? Ralphie? Richie? What was the little kid? Ralphie? What if Ralphie had just had like a big old chunk of silver in his pocket? Or whatever the fuck they slingshot into that spider to kill him. Like, he's just like, yeah, I just found this cool rock in the woods. like Pennywise, like, well, fuck me, dude. That's like my one weakness for some reason. So, all of the Georgie, all of this is just fucking done for now. This is all fakakta. It's all ruined.
Man, if your kid's going around being called Georgie, that's just begging to be pulled into a sewer, though.
This was the 70s, though. You could get away with calling a kid Georgie back then. Wasn't it the 70s?
I don't know. I know that, like, the book was published in the 80s, so if that was set in the past, it would have to be probably 60s or 70s.
All right, well, find out the answer on our bonus podcast where we read all of the Stephen King books.
No.
Starting with the longest ones and then going backwards.
Tapping. Anyway, the Joyous Sorrow Magic introduces himself as the embodiment of Bakugami and says, "Don't you recognize my voice?" Apparently speaking with the same voice that would speak to her through the tip of your body. And he says, "Oh, my other half has gone berserk and is lashing out. It's going to destroy the country, but if you give me your sorrow, just as you did when we first met, then you might be saved." And she questions this, and so he says, yes, I can then quiet my physical form's rage and save your country just like you did 10 years ago. Of course, Gokuraku and Ichi show up at just that moment. Gokuraku's still beaten to shit, because his body has overexerted itself, and also he's been, presumably stabbed by Ichi a number of times. He's got the tubes hanging out of his body, and Ichi's helping him walk because he's not doing so good right now. Gokuraku demands that the Joyous Sorrow get away from his sister, who says, like, what the hell? He still has his sanity after all that. He took the entire village's 10 years of sorrow and is still coming. And Richiya gets freaked out because she sees how badly beaten up Gokuraku is, and the Joyous Sorrow Magic senses an opportunity, grabs her, and in a way that you shouldn't be concerned about at all whatsoever, cups her jaw and forces her to look at Gokuraku in a way that's very friendly and not at all creepy, and says, "Oh yes, that's the pitiful remnant of what once was your brother. He gave up his body, his humanity, in a futile quest for revenge. This country has birthed a monster!" And, of course, there's all the weird tubes hanging out of Gokuraku's body, and the Joyous Sorrow feeds on that fear of Gokuraku's that, he's not a human anymore. He's not going to be perceived as such anymore. And Richiya is startled, of course, so the Joyous Sorrow Magic starts pushing it, saying, "Look at what's happened to your poor brother. Doesn't it bring you pain? Isn't it sad? It must hurt so much. But give me a hug, and that pain will disappear. I'll make it all go away, just like when your mother died." And Gokuraku calls out for Richiya, but the Joyous Sorrow Magic says, "Do it!" which is a very friendly thing to do, and will not startle anyone if you do that.
I shout that kind of thing out all the time, Nick. Like when I'm getting changed at the CVS, I'm like, "Do it! Give your sorrow to me!" 93 cents. Thank you. Have a good day.
That's why Anakin beheaded Count Dooku, is because the Emperor said, "Do it," which is the most trustworthy thing you can say.
It's why
I don't know if I should murder this guy in cold blood. Do it. Only people that are trustworthy say that.
You're a pussy if you don't. I'm certainly not going to be called a pussy in space. God damn it.
Do I get to say this? Oh boy.
Anyways, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's shocking this doesn't work out for him.
No, Gokuraku tries to lash out at the Joy of Sorrow magic, but before he can even launch his punch, Richiya shoves him away. Just, I kind of wish that like the Joy of Sorrow had like fallen over and made like a toy squeak noise.
Or that like she had like kicked him in the dick or something like that. Like it was one of those like get away from me, and then like falls down. Yeah.
And Richiya apologizes, says, "I'm sorry, I can't hug you ever again." And she reflects in her mind on how for years there's been this strange hole in my chest, a hole where I used to have something important. At the same time, my brother started looking at me with lonely eyes. I was worried. He looked so sad. I wanted to help him, but I couldn't. I didn't know how. And anyone I asked for advice said the same thing. Have Lord Bakugami take his sorrow away. I couldn't do that either. For some reason, it felt like something I should never do. That if I let him go, I'd lose everything for good. That thought is the last thin thread of connection we have. I've held on to it this whole time, so I'm afraid I cannot let it go. Not even for you, Lord Bakugami. My concern for my brother is mine, and I won't give it up. Not for you or for anyone, because I am his sister. And she's really determined, very emotional, crying, and the Joy of Sorrow magic takes this very well. And goes, "What the fuck is that? Hug me! Hug me!"
You know, you stupid assholes, you're supposed to just die anyway. I'm not actually...
You guys...
I don't actually give a shit about any of you. You're all just supposed to sit around, enjoy life, and then I murder you and give all your corpses to the world hater magic.
Bow to me! I am your god! Hug me! Very convincing speech. I can't believe it doesn't work. And Gokuraku says, "Our country needs no gods." And while he's still using Ichi for support, he charges up his other arm to 100%, crystals blooming everywhere out of his arm, ramping back from his fist. And he says, "Grit your teeth, you bastard. This is gonna hurt." And turn the page, and it's exactly what you want to see.
It's
2-page spread of a punch, and part of Bakugami's face is over there now.
It is such a great punch. It's weird. I think like the gold standard in many ways is One Piece has had really, really good punches. When Luffy punches, Wapple's a good one. When he hits whatever the dude is at the fishman slave auction, the celestial dragon, say Charlos or Carlos or something like that.
I think something like that, yeah.
Those are like the punches I always think about. This one's really fucking good. I love you can see just how much like impact is going through the face. You can't even see pupils. It's just like movement. There's like blood shooting out of the mouth, but it's also all like crumpled up. It looks really, really good.
And hey, everything comes full circle. Everything's all resolved. Even Richiya gets a bit of redemption. Hooray. And it's because she loves her brother, and that's really sweet. So, hooray! Love and connection defeat the drug magic. Hooray.
Yes.
Punch him some more next chapter. I don't know.
Yeah, I honestly, if next chapter just continues the beatdown, I'm A-okay with it. I would not have an issue. It would be pretty fun.
Excellent chapter, but we got more. Let's talk.
There's more in Weekly Manga Recap?
Oh my gosh. Let's talk Blue Box, chapter 199, Show Some Understanding. We get a absolutely adorable picture of Hina coming out of those stackable jumping things that you could use, especially in Japanese gym classes. I know they use them over here, but it seems to be like they're very common over there. But she's like poking her head up out of them. We start the chapter with Hina, who is doing stretches in the gym, At the same time, Haruto and Kyo,
Kyo.
they're having a match. And also, Ayame is talking to one of the club members. And Haruto suddenly comes over to her, which startles her because she's like, "You were just playing a second ago." I was like, "Yeah, I got done. I won." That's what happens in matches. They end.
Mm-hmm.
Haruto is kind of standing apart from her, so she's like, "Why are you standing so far away?" And he says, "I figured it'd be good to mix in some mid-range shots too," which is a really weird way of putting that. Like, I want to have this in my mental photo gallery, so I'm standing a little bit away from you. Like, Jesus Christ, too.
It's a strategy. The fact he just refers to it as bluntly as that is interesting, because I feel like, I guess they're both big sports heads, so she's probably the person who would also get it, but I feel like that's a very fast way to get somebody to be like, please never talk to me again. What did you just mention that I'm like a sports match to you or something?
Haruto says, like, "Hey, when you go on your class trip, buy me a souvenir. Make it a good luck charm." And she's like, "Well, no, ask Taika to get you something." He says, "No, I don't want to ask him." And she says, "If you're going to ask anyone for something, shouldn't it be your club senpai?" And he says, "I can't ask him for it because I want a good luck charm for victory against him in the national qualifiers." Would be kind of awkward to ask him for that.
You know, Taiki's such a nice dude. He would probably do it, though.
Yeah. He would if he was asked.
Yeah, I think he'd probably be like, I mean, that's a little odd, but yeah, like, sure, dude. Like, anything for the team.
Afterwards, Kyo, he's talking to a couple of girls from the volleyball club, and after they part ways, Taiki comes up to him and is like, "Oh yeah, I'm talking with those girls," and he's like, "Yeah, so." They talk about like class presentation stuff, and then as they're talking about that, we go over to Ayame, who was approached by another one of the club members, who's like, "Oh, I slid for the shuttlecock and ripped my pants." It's at the knee. It's not that bad. So she's like, "All right, I'll get the sewing kit for you from the club room." So she heads over there, but as she does so, she runs into one of her old boyfriends, who says like, "Oh man, yeah, doing cleanup stuff. Yeah, something's never changed. You would clean my house and everything." And she's like, "Yeah, that sucked that I had to do that." Good for her. But he says like, "Hey, you should come out and hang out with me again." And she's like, "I have a boyfriend." It's like, yeah, you're dating Saga, right? "Yeah, okay, if you know that, don't invite me to your place." And he's like, "All right, fine. Like, you've been like really serious. You're like really serious with your team duties and with your boyfriend." And she says, "Well, people change." And she storms off away from him. Even drops the sewing kit because she's stopping so much. So when she's picking it up, Takasago's friend, the one that we saw him talking to in the previous chapter, comes over and helps her pick his stuff up. And she says, "Oh, it's thank you for being nice to me. That means a lot." And she starts to head back to her stuff, and he stops her and says, "Hey, I know that he's taken everything, in stride, but he's actually really trying hard to be a good boyfriend to you. And I know that you're the club manager and you're surrounded by a bunch of guys as part of that, but I don't think that he doesn't mind it. So you should try and be more mindful of him in that way. Anyway, bye."
Hey, I'm going to come in and interfere with your relationship, and then I'm just going to kind of dip. So, peace. Yep. I'm out.
What's your name, dude? Like, who are you? Who even are you?
He's like, "Oh, my name is Trinidad Supreme." And you're like, wow, what a cool name. Why, what a
cool name for an uncool dude.
Yeah, my father's Bill Nye. You're like, what? The science guy? Like, why do you have such a cool name and a cool backstory, cool lineage, but you're such a loser? He's like, yeah, well, I'm off to spend the science guy estate on, I don't know, fucking sports bets or some stupid bullshit.
The science guy is state. Peace out, science rules. She gets back to the gym and tosses the sewing kit at the guy who needed it. And she's like, I brought it. Work on it yourself. And then later on, she's, I think, moving a water cooler, a jug. It's one of those dispensable water jug things. She hefts it up. And Taiki, sweet boy, it says, you want me to get that for you? And she says, I'm fine. I've got the power. She's hauling it herself. But Ayame brings up to Taiki, you've been dating Chi for like a year, right? When did you start liking her? He's like, like second year of junior high. Over 3 years ago. So she says, oh, okay. I've been going out with Shota for like 4 months, which is a record for me. And I like how Taiki doesn't say anything, and he looks at her very neutrally, but she says in the box, don't look at me like that. Shut your face. But she brings up, he's really nice. He doesn't try and like force his opinions on me. He had, it's like, oh, he's different from the guys that I've dated so far. And she reflects on a bunch of conversations that she's had with her past boyfriends, like, oh, let's just keep things casual. It's like, oh, no, go by yourself. No, how you thought you were and stuff. But she says, I want like a relationship where both of us can honor and treasure each other. As she thinks of her sister, who of course been dating Haru for a long time, and they're, a really well-balanced couple. But she insists on continuing to carry the water jug. She's like, Ayame Moria has changed. I'm taking my duties as manager seriously, and I make my boyfriend smile.
Aww.
I have to treasure that. And she keeps on walking while Taiki kind of casts a look over at Kyo elsewhere.
Kyo.
Get a little scene break from there. Cut over to Chinatsu, who has made dinner.
Looks really good too.
It does. She sends a picture of it over to Taiki, who responds with oh, it looks really good. Make it for me next time. And she smiles and she's like, yay. So that's cute. Then her doorbell rings. And the person at the door says, I just moved in next door and I wanted to introduce myself. And they have a little thing that's for Baumkuchen. So there's no follow-up on that. We're just going to leave that thread hanging.
Well, notably, next chapter is chapter 200, Nick.
Mm-hmm. It's just to kind of like turn into a murder mystery or something.
I wasn't trying to insinuate that. Like, yeah, next chapter, it's just Chinatsu's head hanging from the window, and you're like, huh, are they still going to play Batman? Because that feels like it would be weird now. But we do have time now to spend with the Kyo Ayame relationship. Wasn't always the case before.
There's a note that's left with her body that says, catch me if you can. Signed, the Blue Box Killer. I was like, oh my god! That's why!
Because it didn't make sense before. The gym isn't blue, so now it makes... I mean, it doesn't really, because I don't really see what he is doing.
There was no blue box involved in the calling card and the method of killing at all. No. But they call themselves it, though.
And based on the forensics, it does seem that Chinatsu actually wasn't killed. She just turned herself into a cyborg with a new robot head, left her old one behind. So she named it herself. So I think she's just trying to push it. She recognizes the branding's not as very good as they wanted.
Anyway, coming up is the school trip. We catch up with Taiki's class. His group is heading off for their trip, and that's just kind of it. Chinatsu did text Taiki that's saying, oh, be safe and have fun. So it doesn't seem like anything super bad happened. but we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it once we wrap the chapter.
Yeah, I don't think there's really anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're going on their trip. So I mean, there's a lot of theorizing about what this potential neighbor is. Is this a romantic rival for Chinatsu and Taiki's relationship? If this what if this is like an extraordinarily hunky guy next door who is maybe even older than Chinatsu or something like that? What if it's, I don't know, there's 1,000 things it could be. I do agree with a lot of people that's like, well, I hope this isn't just love interest for Chinatsu that just kind of messes with the Taiki relationship a little bit. But I don't know. I feel like we're going to find out in chapter 200 or sometime very soon. I really just need to actually get some full development on this Ayame-Kyo relationship. I feel like we have been stuck at the exact same point for as long as this relationship has been going. And that's been months. So it would be nice. We did get a little advancement, but we're still kind of all in the same place. So I am hopefully I hope this is going to give some time to explore that to some degree. Chinatsu's not on this trip, Nick. She can't interfere, right? Unless this is a serial killer, in which case everyone's going to have to go back home to stop them.
Yeah, it definitely seems as though this big class trip is kind of been set up so that a number of other dominoes are going to fall at this point, because there's been, since Taiki and Chinatsu's big kiss, we've just kind of had 2 very quiet chapters since then. There's been a little bit of stuff, but it's all just been kind of hinting towards some tensions building up, as opposed to getting really big moments in them. It's been, cute, but I do get this kind of sense that now that we're being reminded of both the stuff with Kyo and Ayame, but also the stuff with Haruto and Hina, come on, do something. So,
or if we're not, then just give us more Haruto and Hina. I'm fine with that. I need someone to be one of those 2, the B or C plot needs to start moving.
All I'm saying is I don't think that nothing's going to happen on this class.
Yes.
That's all.
So yeah, absolutely. I think something is definitely going to happen. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I guess we'll see what happens from here. All right. Chainsaw Man, Nick.
Chapter 206, Chest, Woman, Apology. We get a very clear example of Denji vision at the beginning of this chapter, because he just goes zooms in on the falling devil's chest, and you don't even see the extra arms and the head.
I was gonna say, to be very clear, by the way, we all know that she does not have actual boobs. Those are just more arms folded up. We saw that when she first showed up. So just a note there as Denji is ogling her.
You put a shirt over those and they look sexy all of a sudden. So there you go. So Denji's distracted by the not boobs, and Yoru says she's the freaking falling devil, you idiot! She's strong! Save me! I'm pinned down! And Denji gets a moment of don't know what to do. So falling devil says, I mean, you can save her if you want to. You can do anything you like.
Ooh.
Just stay out of my way.
What
I
if
want to fight you?
This is a weird blue box pullback? What if, because I don't think that person Shinatsu's going to meet she just doesn't seem like the kind of person who would cheat on Taiki. What if that's what they want us to think might happen while the class trip is going on, and then ultimately she doesn't, but Ayame kisses Kyo and cheats on her boyfriend?
So kind of yeah.
Something along those lines, yeah.
Kind of planting the seeds of there's a danger of this happening for this person, and then instead that twist happens with another person. I get you where you're going with that.
All right.
Before we move on, I do want to say that the Blue Box chapter did leave a very weird feeling for me because it cuts off at that exact moment. It was just a very weird, like, that seems very, like, ominous in a way that you don't expect.
You really expected there to be like one more shot, and then like you see the guy's tie, and you're like, "That's Yoshikaga Kira's tie, Nick. She's gonna get attacked by sheer heart attack." Watch out, Shinatsu! Killer Queen's coming after you.
Anyway, Falling Devil says that her job is to plunge mankind into an abyss of terror because, of course, she is acting on the Death Devil's orders. And so buildings start toppling over behind her and toppling up into the air as well. And Denji starts running towards her and goes, "Why, you?" And then, before anything can happen, suddenly we get an image of Denji really, really small and human, as the Falling Devil's face looms imposingly behind him. And she says, "You haven't changed at all since last time. Your chainsaws can't frighten me." And her mouth opens up, and that one dude who was bonded with the Fire Devil comes out of her mouth and says, "You ought to know the sorrow and pain of losing a loved one, but you did it anyway. You took someone from us." And his body like splits in half, bisected the way that Denji had killed him, and also his body is on fire. And so Denji, for a brief moment, is like 10 again from when we saw him at his youngest, when his dad abandoned him and stuff. And Denji, in the real world, starts plummeting up into the air because his despair has taken hold, and so he's prey to the Falling Devil's abilities. So Yoru looks up, watches all this happen, and then Asa takes over, and she makes a gun with one of her hands, and Yoru realizes what she's got to do and says, "No, we're buried in the rubble. If you shoot it now, we're gonna be blown away too." And Asa comes to terms with that, closes her eyes, and Yoru starts screaming at her again, and Asa just declares, bang, blows a explosion in the rubble. She looks basically unharmed.
Yeah, I was like, for all the concern of that moment, she didn't seem to suffer any like significant damage.
Her body is like smoking and scuffed up and stuff, but she's not losing a limb.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Gohan just got hit by a pretty strong energy beam, but like, we're in episode 2 of this fight, so we know it's not done. Like, he's fine.
This is a woman who has already lost both of her arms, and she did not lose anything else because she blew apart a building that was on top of her. Denji is falling up into the sky, and so Asa yells out for him. She runs up a bunch of rubble that, of course, is gathered on the street, leaps off, and grabs his leg as the chapter ends. This lands us in a situation that I am actually quite interested in, because we have, an opportunity to do a reflection of that scene where Denji was trying to help out Asa before, while she was under the Fallen Devil's effect. And it'll be interesting to see where Asa is right now, because she's been very quiet recently. Yoru's been doing a lot of the talking while she's been around. We haven't seen the way that a lot of recent events have affected her.
Yeah.
And maybe this will be a way to actually put some more of the focus back on her again. And I do like Asa, so that'd be nice.
It would be nice. I guess we will see. I'm excited to see Asa do something. So looking forward to the next chapter. In the meantime, Nick, let's talk about Dandadan chapter 198, Smash the Typhoon's Eye. So they are going to attack the literal eye of the hurricane, which is, of course, in the human typhoon, an actual eyeball. And Momo shouts out the plan is to head for the eye of the typhoon and then have Gigi blast it as hard as he can with his evil gun. Gigi notes, like, I don't think I'm going to be able to fire the gun like this. But Momo says, I'm going to use my power to help you. And also Zuma is going to basically turn and use his back to help support Gigi so we can do it. And he does. He does a big evil gun. There's like a half 2-page spread where he fires it off and it starts hitting the eye and it looks like it's working, but the typhoon just regenerates. And not only does it regenerate, it starts to counterattack as lightning starts to crackle above it and then fires upwards into the sky, just narrowly missing the flying carp Mongolian snake thing. I don't know what to call it at this point.
Mongolian deathworm.
Is it the deathworm anymore? I'm going to get to that in a second, but very powerful attack. And there's also actually a pretty cool visual moment of just the eyes shooting lightning into the sky.
Looks seeing cool. Everyone like scattered vertically across its path. It's cool stuff.
So they note, hey, this is pretty bad. Also, my evil gun isn't effective. Momo has a moment where she thinks of what Okarun would be saying, or what he did say about the human typhoon. He's like, that means the typhoon itself is a living cryptid. And Momo gets a moment where she's like, okay, hey, old bag, eat a bunch of those worms, basically. And
don't tell me what to do, but eat a bunch of those worms.
Yeah, she says, don't worry about it, just do what I said. She says, well, if we do that, then the great serpent lord won't be able to fly. She says, that doesn't matter. We're going to dive into the eye of the typhoon. So there's a moment where Mamakita is like, so you've just given up all hope and you're just going to try to take us down with you? And she's like, no, I'm not giving up hope. Taking this thing down is all I'm thinking about. And eventually, I am going to settle shit with you guys. But for right now, just get that worm to eat the sharks. And Mamakita says, you don't get to order me around. I'll be the one to decide if the great lord, serpent lord, eats the sharks. It's by why will alone. And it starts eating all the sharks. So everyone's like, wow, you're so awesome, Mama. This is great. Mama's like, whatever.
Fine, I don't care.
So they're eating it. Now, this is where I'm confused. Are there organs left in this thing? Like, we see the end of it. It seems like it's been pretty much hollowed out. It's like carving a pumpkin, it seems like.
Momo did stick her powers all the way through this thing's body.
Yeah.
Yes, it is essentially a tube. Yes.
So I truly don't know how, like, what it's eating or firing. It's all very silly. But it doesn't matter because they're firing out these sharks as the lightning bolt is about to charge, and the lightning goes through all the sharks and just avoids our heroes. And there's a little note of like, yes, electricity hardly passes through ice, which is wild. How is ice not how is lightning not effective then against ice types, Nick? This is a big problem that I think we should bring up to the Pokemon Company.
I believe it is normal effectiveness.
Yeah.
Against ice types.
And this series is saying something different, so one of them's got to be wrong.
Yes, Quinn, one of them has to be wrong. You're right.
It is factual. One of them has to be wrong. They're saying, hey, we're going to crash into the eye of the typhoon, but Momo has a turn. They're dodging it and going down. And they're like, hey, it's fine. We've gone past the eye, and we're actually after the typhoon itself. There is an entire explanation about how they're going to have Gigi use his evil gun to attack the ocean because the warm water only goes down to about 50 to 100 meters deep. If they could blast it, they could start getting it to swirl, etc., etc. I don't know how Momo knows all this stuff. She pays attention in science class specifically, it seems.
Yeah, meteorology is her big specialty. Yes.
Yeah, but that's the plan. Gigi's like, here we go. Evil gun. Fires it into the ocean. It's not strong enough. They don't have any more sharks left either, unfortunately. And the eye has turned, and it's staring down at them and is going to kill them with electricity now. So this seems really, really bad. Gigi is just begging, like, come on, ocean, cool off. When Zuma turns around and just says, is this the right direction? Then let's do this. And in combination with the evil eye, opens up one of his umbrellas, and we get a giant 2-page spread of like the super strong evil gun that is being launched, with a final 2-page spread that seems to show the typhoon itself breaking up.
It seems to be doing that. In which case, I feel like that's like appropriate timing. I think for how long the fight is last. This feels like the appropriate climax. If things somehow get to an even bigger level than this, I'll be surprised.
I'd be annoyed.
Um,
we've gone through like the 3 different levels of like we just need to psychic shoot sharks into the hurricane. That'll deal with it. Actually, that's not going to do it. We're gonna get the Mongolian deathworm to eat up a bunch of sharks and like Tommy gun them into it. Actually, that's not going to work. We're gonna go up to the literal eye of the hurricane, and that'll solve problems. And that didn't work. And it's like, okay, we're actually gonna go back to that first plan, but like different.
yeah, let's hope the thing doesn't split open and the Madariki Harukaze comes out or anything like that. That'd be a no. Yeah. Fun chapter. I think that Gigi and Zuma just became best friends. It sort of feels like that's kind of one of the developments that we're kind of like being pushed towards in this chapter is the two of them kind of being combat buddies in this sequence.
Zuma is also just extremely cool in this chapter in general.
Yeah, just very, very calm while all this shit is happening around him.
I mean,
I guess
to his advantage,
it helps he
he
can't
doesn't
see any of it.
He's just kind of hearing noise, and there's so much shouting and effects. He probably is like, whatever, dude. I'm just kind of like humming a song to my head.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing how things go now because we're kind of past the big combat things that have been happening in this sequence.
I'm just very curious how they get back to the plane. I assume Seiko like picked them up, but I assume it's not going to be easy.
She just transforms the passenger plane into an Autobot.
That would be very cool.
All right. We're gonna do some new manga now. So it's Embers. Remember the name. Chapter 19. All according to plan.
All according to Keikaku, Nick.
That's right. We get a conversation between the coach and Nerima where he asks Nerima, does soccer bore you? And he just explains, I make the correct move, the correct kick, the net swishes, we win. It's like walking down a straight road. Progress, but not really surprising or stimulating. So the coach says, okay, so you're looking for adventure. And Nerima answers, if possible. It sounds mildly more amusing than this, at least. And of course, we cut to the present with Nerima squaring off with Haitani, who's giving him all this trouble. And the coach's thought is, are you sure about that? The audience has grown quiet because the game has reached a stalemate. Of course, Nerima and his team are used to just blowing their opponents out of the water. So he tries to pass to a teammate, and he's like, yeah, okay, a really obvious passing lane there. Did I just overlook it? And instead, Haitani jumps out and heads the ball away, and interferes. And Nerima's like, wait, what the hell? Was it really not there? Was it there? And this voice starts to kind of like creep up in his mind that kind of just questions, lose? Haitani gets up as Nerima is still getting frustrated with the fact that he can't predict his movements, and Haitani goes, "Oh man, yeah, I'm still not getting enough space. I'm gonna stop him dead next time." And Nerima again sees him as a horrifying monster from this angle, when he's really just being really fiercely competitive. The other members of Kosei are going like, "Man, he's kind of scary. Good thing he's on our team." Nerima is still acting like he's had his eyes gouged out, and he can't see what to do. Their coach says, Haitani's not really a protector. It's not a good name, good word for him. He steals your treasures, your goals. He smothers your star players. All that's left in his wake is a smoldering ruin. He is no guardian. He's a plunderer. And again, we see things from Nerima's perspective, and the visuals transformed into his teammates are lying dead and burning on the ground behind him while this massive wolf looms up in front of him.
Yeah, why did this series feel like it took till now to just get so metal? Like, why was this not from like chapter 1? Was he like jamming out people's eyes and shit?
So the coach asks, like, what's Nerima gonna do? You're facing this guy who is freed you from normal. Will your heart dance with joy, or will fear take hold instead? And Nerima lets out this horrifying yell with the bloody, gouged eyes look to him. And so Nerima tries to take over the game, and he says to himself, I kick the ball, and the net swishes, and I win. If I win, my eyes will come back. And he starts screaming this out loud. And so Aitani says, what are you talking about, bro? No idea what this guy is doing. And that voice starts to creep up on Nerima again, saying, today I'm going to... And he's like, no, everything's fine. I just need to get rid of this monster. And so he advances. He's got Aitani opposing him as well. But the coach has realized that Nerima is trying to get back to normal. He's trying to get back to the thing he'd been wanting to break away from to begin with. And Aitani tackles and manages to kick the ball away from him. And that voice starts to get more solid in Nerima's mind. Today, I lose. Takami advances the ball up. He doesn't trap it successfully, but he dashes off, heads towards the goal, and now Nerima's focus is on Takami instead. And he starts
I can catch this one.
Yeah, I know this one. This one, it's not a weird monster that gouges my eyes out. I can get him. I don't accept this. I just got to eliminate your shooting lanes. I got to block off your passing lanes. This time, you're not getting away. And he lunges in, and it takes the visual of his hands clasping around that hawk that we've had as Takami's visual. But Takami just says, oh, you think you've stopped me? If I don't have a lane, I'll just make one. And he bends the ball again. It starts twisting through the
Some
air.
would say like Beckham, even.
Like Beckham.
He bent it. Much of a Beckham-like quality.
Much of a Beckham bender, this boy. Mm-hmm. Yes. So Takami bends the ball. It arcs towards the goal as he declares, if I don't have a lane, I'll make one.
Now, this is the interesting thing. So a lot of people think that this is called the Beckham maneuver. And people think it's named after the soccer player. There's actually a scientist. Before this, things actually were not allowed to bend. That was just kind of a universal property in physics. And it wasn't until this time that they were finally allowed to bend. And thus the Beckham principle was kind of ushered in. It's actually a scientific law. There's not a whole lot of them, you know?
That is true. There are not many laws in science. That's correct. I wasn't aware that soccer was responsible for the naming of one of them. So thank you for that bit of it. Thank you, Professor Quinn, for that.
Well, you should be thanking Professor Beckham, who actually was a cow. That's the thing that's really crazy. It needed a little extra level to it, you know? There needed to be one extra little thing. So it was actually a cow named Beckham. Was like, ooh, and they were like, that's right, that ball did bend. We believe that things might actually be able to shift after they've started to move. Perhaps a curve could be established. And in honor of the cow, they slaughtered it and ate it for lunch.
The best way to honor a cow, clearly. Takami kicks the ball. It arcs through the air towards the net. It gets past the keeper, but Nerima says, I told you, you have no shooting lanes. And although in his visual, his eyes are still bleeding, his eyes kind of start to come back. He still sees that. And the ball bounces off the crossbar and up into the air. Takami has missed, and Nerima advances and says, there. today's just going to be like any other day. In the end, I always win. And before he can complete that thought, Haitani is up in front of him, launching towards the ball. So there's a thing that is often said about sports manga that come out, which is that one of the reasons that they're popular is that there is a nostalgic element to them, in that they remind people of, their days in their youth when they worked really, really, really hard for something. And then once it was over, it was just kind of a chapter in their lives that's over.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't lead on to anything else. But it was something that meant a lot to them then.
Yes.
And just because it's over doesn't mean that the good times that you had and the effort that you put in doesn't mean that that means nothing. And Embers is ending soon. And it did not become the next big sports manga. It did not become a smash hit, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean that while it was running, we didn't have some really fun moments and some really cool visuals that happened. And so, although this manga is ending, for right now, we get, in my mind, a awesome moment in the history of sports manga.
Oh, yeah.
Haitani launches through the air, and Nerima still can't believe it, as he's like, I thought that I knew the answer. I had the glimpses before the game started. They got clear after the whistle blew. I saw it coming, and I ran from it. My straight road veered ever so slightly, putting me in an ever so slightly different place. Today, and we don't see the ball go in the net. We just see it get past the keeper's hands in a very small visual. All the focus is on Nerima, who can't see.
Mm-hmm.
The focus is on the coach, who is like, well, I guess that's it. And it's on Yukizuki celebrating, and on Haitani being sworn by his teammates as he scores his first ever goal and puts Kosei ahead, as Nerima realizes, I lose.
Yeah.
Man.
It's a bummer, but it's also a very understandable one, because we've been saying throughout this, we're like, kind of wish you had gotten like into this like metal imagery and stuff like that a little bit sooner. Like I think that might have maybe done to help. I don't know. I don't want to sit here and be like, what could Embers have done different? Sports manga are like an uphill battle right now. It's really hard to get one to like stick. And so much so, I believe our next, the current like collection of manga, we're getting 3 of them are sports series, if I recall.
3 of them within like a month are debuting starting this week. So
it does feel like Jump is trying to be like, one of these has to hit, like one of them in this series. So I'm very sad that Embers is presumably ending next week. I haven't heard an official confirmation, but I mean, come on. I hope this team gets to do another series. I hope they don't get discouraged from this, because like the art and the writing, everything really came together in this match. And I mean, it's incredible there. So highly hoping that we'll get to see more from them, because this is very promising and really was just an exciting final match for the series. Even though like there's not really any suspense, it's like 3 chapters long or whatever. It's like, hey, here's one where he kicks the shit out of everybody. Here's one where Haitani turns it around. Here's one where Haitani wins. That said, still one of the best matches, like sports matches I've seen in Shonen Jump in a very long time. Yeah,
it's going on my list of early cancellations that shouldn't have been. It feels like so. But from one new sports manga to another, Quinn, let's talk about Harukaze Mound, which is by Togogoto and Kento Matsura, the team that did Phantom Seer. Chapter 1, opposite twins. It's a baseball manga about twins who witnessed
Don't look a lot alike. They're fraternal, I'm guessing.
Probably different eye colors, different hair colors. They've got the same build, basically.
Kinda, yeah.
One of them's also like got a much more expressive face, and he's the protagonist. Wouldn't you know it? Both of them, when they were kids, witnessed the championship finals of the Koshien, and the pitcher got a perfect game. And so our protagonist says that when they watched that game together, he and his brother decided that they would play together at Koshien and made a promise that they would do so. So we cut ahead to the present when they're like both in their last year of junior high. The younger of the twins, Aokaze Kuzumi, is the light-haired one. He's got the very serious expressions, and he is like a top prospect pitcher, right-hander, who's got a really powerful fastball that rises as if attacking the batter. And it's like, hey, look, a hawk. You never see these in sports manga these days, the hawk imagery and stuff. So a coach from an elite high school, Hojitsu, is scouting. And so he's thinking like, oh yeah, this guy's got, got a crazy good fastball. But then he pops over and takes a look at the older brother, Nagiharu Kuzumi. And Nagiharu is a southpaw, and he's kind of doing like shadow training. He's trying to get his form right. His form is like the exact same as his brother Aokaze's, but mirrored because he's left-handed, whereas Akaze is right-handed. So Nagiharu gets to go in, and he says, all right, I'm going to go and I'm going to pitch just as good as you. And the coach sees all this happen. He's like, he was doing something really interesting there. He was shadow pitching. As Aokaze was pitching, Nagiharu was trying to match his movements exactly. And Nagiharu says, like, yeah, we're the exact same height and weight. We like the same foods. We like the same pop idols. We got the same game got us into baseball. And so we practiced that one pitcher's pitching form, and now our pitching form is exactly the same, and he sucks. His pitching form is just the same, but his actual pitches are garbage. And he just, is giving up all these runs in relief. He's getting destroyed out there after Aokaze had this incredibly dominant performance. So the game ends, and everyone's like, okay, so Aokaze is the talented brother, Nagiharu is the untalented brother. He practiced some more because he's like, I need to catch up with my brother. He's determined to do that so that they can fulfill their promise to play in the Koshien together. They get introduced to a new teammate, however, when they come back to practice the next day, a catcher, Ibuki Hayama. He's short. That's his big thing, is he's short. So, whoever heard of a short catcher? Come on, guys.
The super short catcher.
He's also in the same year as Aokaze and Nagiharu. He just got transferred in. So, but he's heard about Aokaze, so he's like, hey, I know that you've been holding back this whole time when you've been pitching. So, give me what you've got, your best shot. I know you've been slacking off. And so Aokaze rises to the challenge. We get this ominous image of him, pitching, and the ball is got this smoking trail behind it after Ibuki catches it. And so he says hey, I can draw your potential. You should go to the same high school that I'm going to. And Aokaze's like, I'm going to Hojitsu. I want to go to Koshien, so I'm going to the prestigious school.
Yeah.
But Nagiharu, when Aokaze goes to him for kind of backup, realizes, oh, my brother that I've been working so hard to catch up with,
he's way better than me,
holding back this whole time. So afterwards, when they're walking back home, he does he does big brother him a bit while he's trying to get that out of him. And he's like, I can't believe you could pitch like that. He's noogie him and everything. But then he says, you have to hold back because of me, that's what you're doing. You held back because your big brother sucks so much. You should go to Hojitsu. You should forget about me. and Aokaze gets really pissed off, which Nagiharu talks about as if he's in observation mode, and there's a really weird panel where he explains it and stuff, and it's like, I don't know, man, I don't think you should be explaining in this form in this manga, but whatever. Anyway, he's got eye powers now because he's secretly an Uchiha or whatever. And Aokaze is pissed off, and he's like, "Did you forget about our promise? That if you were going to just like leave it aside like that, you shouldn't have made that promise with me to begin with." And he's really, really pissed off about it. So he runs off ahead. Aokaze is still pissed off the next day. Nagiharu grabs Hayama and pulls him aside and says, like, I want to catch up to my brother. He's really pissed off at me over all this, explains all this stuff. And Hayama says, okay, well, if you want to catch up with him, you've got to accept the fact that you can't be like him. And Nagiharu's like, what do you mean? He says, come over here and I'll watch you practice, but you got to practice what I tell you to practice. And so the main thing that Hayama does for a bit is like just like ground balls to him so that Nagiharu has to field him as if he's like a shortstop or something for a while. And everyone else is like, what the hell is he doing? Like, is he like giving up on being a pitcher? What's going on? So he keeps on pushing him. He's like, I'm not going to give up. And at a certain point, something happens while he's fielding the balls and he's tossing them. And he gets this throw out that snaps into another player's mitt really quickly. And so Hayama gets an idea. So a month goes by. We just skip ahead past this to a game that their team is playing, and Aokaze is not doing great all of a sudden. He's walking batter after batter, and everyone's like, "Oh shit!" The other team's going to take the lead at this point because we're only a run ahead now. So Nagiharu realizes that something is going on here, and Aokaze is like looking towards him, and Nagiharu's not looking at him, and he realizes, oh, things are strained between them because he's given up his chances of like being a pitcher and stuff. So Nagiharu gets a jolt of determination. He approaches the coach and says, put me in, because not just because he wants to win the game, but because he doesn't want Aokaze to give up on him. So he approaches the mound and he says, yeah, we promised to go to Koshin together, so watch me. Watch your big brother pitch. And Harukaze is like, okay. And he goes to the bench. Nagiharu takes the mound, and he throws this weird underhand sidearm pitch that whips in and gets a strike. And even Nagiharu was shocked by this. There's like, holy shit, it actually worked, all the training that I was doing and stuff. So we get an explanation from Hayama in a flashback, which is, okay, being a left-handed person can be really awkward. So a lot of the times, left-handed people copy right-handed people as if they're in a mirror. What's special about you is you've done that with pitching as well, and you think that that's the ideal form for you. And Nagiharu's like, well, we're twins. And he's like, well, no, the problem is that that's throwing you off. The difference in dominant hand is a big deal. Right-handed and left-handed pitchers use their bodies differently. Think about the balance of internal organs. The heart is on the left, so the right lung is bigger, and the liver makes the right kidney a little lower. That makes the human body heavier on the right. Right-handed pitchers can shift that weight to give their pitches power, and that's why many orthodox pitchers are right-handed. This is all bullshit, as far as I was able to find out. I think this is just a weird illustration to try and, like, impress the difference of handedness and why that's important on this. So he says, look, the big thing is that you guys are twins, yes, but all pitchers are different. No one has the exact same parts. Every pitcher has built and rebuilt their own way of throwing. So I had you field balls to get out of the mindset of just copying your brother. When you threw off balance, you threw in a form that was natural for you, and so that's why we've been refining that. This throw is best suited for you. So that coach from Hijitsu has shown up to scout again, and he observes, yeah, so Aokaze uses vertical spin on his pitches. He's an orthodox pitcher. Nobuhiro is using underhand pitches with a lateral spin, completely unorthodox style. So now we've got these two brothers that have skills in entirely different areas. So now he's like, all right, I did it. And he has a big moment where he pitches and he's like, I'm not going to try and be Alcaz anymore. I'm going to be myself. And hooray, he strikes out the batter, and Alkazi's really proud of him, and they high five and stuff. And the coach is really impressed. So they win the game. A week later, Hojitsu does invite Alkazi to join the team, and Nagiharu is like, yeah, I also got an invitation when Hayama asks him about it. But Hayama says, well, instead of doing that, what if the two of us form a battery? I want to go to Hinazakura High School, which is starting a baseball team, which is completely new, meaning that we can do stuff entirely differently there instead of all the other schools that do things the exact same way, because conformity is boring. Baseball should be about all kinds of players battling it out. Even if they aren't the right kind of player, some guys have something that shines, so we should form a team of outsiders. Doesn't that sound fun? We just need a pitcher. And he says, I came here because I wanted Alkaze for the team, but now that I've met you, you seem way better. You're like a budding star. I don't want him, I want you. And I want to prove to the world that a certain high school pitcher is as good as any right pitcher out there, and that's you, Nagiharu Kazumi.
Yeah,
right,
that is the chapter.
Okay, so I didn't feel a grab from this. Can't say that I'm very interested yet.
I'll say this. So I do know this team can be very good. Phantom Seer, I think, actually got like pretty good towards the end. But I think this chapter is very technical. Like, it's very talky, and eventually does start to like get into like a lot of mechanical stuff that honestly I would have tried to save for a little bit down the line or something like that. It just feels like they didn't save space for like a really exciting moment. I know he does throw like a cool pitch, but like, I don't know, this doesn't really feel like, yes, I need to see what happens next. If anything, I'm kind of like, you just threw like one good pitch and like struck someone out and got invited to the nicest, like, take that deal. What are you doing? Like,
your goal is to play in the Koshien with your brother, and you're going to do another team. And I understand that like you can still fulfill that dream in a different way, but that's not at all like actually explored in this chapter.
I was gonna say, I assume the next chapter will be, one, his brother finding out about this offer, and two, him basically going through the thought process of why he's actually like, yeah, this actually, like, I think I want to achieve some level of individuality and something like that. And, you know, like, if I go to the team you're on, I'm always just going to be your weird kind of oddball brother. Whereas if I go to this place, I get to be my own fully realized self. Sure, I think there is. That's just not in this chapter. So, like, until we get that point, you're just like, dude, just take the team that, like, is, like, probably going to go to the Kiyoshi. This other team just started a baseball team. It doesn't even
We got a shortstop that I found in the back alley. We've got an outfielder that said that he's a high schooler, and I'm not sure.
We got a coach. He's been banned from most other sports from gambling, but he says he's definitely not going to do it this time. And
I think he's the guy who put weights in that bobsled.
But like that said, it's, you know, it's fine. Like, the art's pretty cool. I do like that stuff. So, you know, I'm gonna keep reading the next couple chapters. But I agree, there's not anything that like really hooks me in this series.
There's just a few elements as well that I feel like are very much kind of grinding against itself in a way. I do absolutely understand the point of like, hey, there's a guy here who wanted to go fulfill this dream with his brother as teammates, and to instead take the approach of, oh, but now they're going to be rivals. Like, yeah, that's you know, on its face a potentially very compelling hook. But again, we don't really get into that at all because it's just kind of introduced as a concept at the end of this. We only get the moment of like him breaking away from wanting to just match him exactly. And by the way, if you want to have a dream of like going to do something with someone close to you, and so you go on the same team as them to do it, I don't know, man. Like being the backup pitcher for him is just not a very like twin thing. Like in terms of like, oh, like the two of us will be doing it together is like as I bench warm for you or I relieve things when you're in trouble and stuff. You'd think there would be something where it's like, oh, and we'll be, like
The pitcher catcher, yeah.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where it's like, well, obviously they're not going to be on the same team. Like that's just not a very like poetic style of doing this concept. So of course he's going to break away from that.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know about this whole thing about the way that it talks about the differences in left-handed and right-handed pitchers. I don't necessarily know if I have faith in the way that this series is going to explain this stuff. Obviously, it's only chapter 1. So I guess that we'll have a couple more opportunities to see it.
Yep. All right, Nick, Hima-Ten.
Yeah, it's chapter 46 of Hima-Ten, an ordinary school festival. Kana got to have her big moment with Iemori after she snuck him into that pairs modeling thing. Iemori is still kind of like, in the aftermath of that, and then realizes like, oh, right, I'm supposed to be like, meeting with Yoshino right now. Himari is kind of like hiding around a corner all shy because she understands like what Kana was, trying to do. And she acknowledges that Kana's been super busy and probably knew that this was her main chance that she was going to get to spend some time with Iemori. And she just kind of thinks she's been interested in Iemori since before I was. Getting a little bit of that, I have guilt because we have the same like for the same guy kind of thing with her good friend. But she shakes it off, approaches Iemori, and she's like, yeah, let's go. We're going to do stuff. We're going to do the school festival stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Iemori's like, you seem like you're in a good mood. And she says, do you know how many cabbages I chopped behind the scenes waiting for this moment? If I had to chop a bunch of cabbages, I'd be really down to do like anything afterwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that. There is the stamp collection thing that was talked about before. So they find the first station and fill that out. And Iemori says like, if you want to, we can just like go to them in order and stuff. And she says, no, let's wander around and tackle them at random. She wants to, like have fun. Iemori establishes that she did see the fashion show, which Iemori is like, oh, so you saw we were on stage. Yes. I was there with Kanai, and we both saw what happened. Oh, I had good reasons for doing that, and it was all a mistake. And Himari's like, yeah, you should explain that to Anoka, because you're the one that you supposedly, yeah. But she's like, anyway, forget about that. Stamps. Let's go get stamps.
Gotta get them stamps.
So they get to like a fishing type game with a little pool set up, and so they get a ticket to do it. And Iemori starts to realize, like, something's kind of up with Yoshino right now. She's kind of staring at me. She must be really into this stamp rally.
It's so funny. This boy has no idea. He's just like, you're not even really looking at the game. You're kind of just looking at me the whole time. That's interesting. You're not going to really get a good idea of how the game was based on that.
But he messes up because he's distracted that way. And so the person attending it says like, okay, well, if you can't get it on the second try, you still get a balloon. And Imari's like, okay, look, I like another try. And you don't get it like that. Here, try this. And she actually takes his hand and helps him fish the thing out.
Have you ever gotten one of these, Nick? The like water balloon yo-yo things?
Not this kind of thing.
Oh,
Also,
okay.
it's established that they fail, by the way.
Yes.
So
I was gonna say they also still miss. I definitely have gotten these at one or two fairs before. They suck. These always blow. They immediately, like, the rubber band will snap or it'll pop. But I mean, they're pretty cool for like 2 seconds.
oh, sure. You're like, oh wow, fun. It's like, wait, how much did I drop on this? Like, I gave you like $3.
Was this worth $7? I don't think so.
I don't think so. Iomori asks Himari about her, her disguise because she's still in her glasses and braids, and she says, "Yeah, so far, yeah, that is why I dressed down today." But he points out, like, yeah, I guess like all your experience running a company really helped when we set the budget and everything like that. So, yeah, thanks, basically. And he's like, yeah, I'll fulfill my promise, be by your side. Himari's clearly distracted still, and Himari's like, what happened? What's going on? Like, why is she not excited anymore? She's the one who wanted to focus on the rally. Why is she zoning out? And Himari's just like, I grabbed his hand during the freaking balloon fishing, and he didn't react at all. He's so worried about Hanoka seeing the fashion show, not me. And I was twisted up too. And she's like aggressively bouncing the balloon on the band now. And so he has to get her attention. She's like, oh yeah, sorry, okay, come on. I'm hanging out with Iomori right now. I shouldn't sulk. So she asks him what he wants to do. Because she says, like, hey, I know that you're like, this isn't supposed to just be a job for you. I want to do the stuff that you want to try to. Aw. And when she says that, she starts to smile anymore. It's like, oh, okay, good. She's in a bit of a better mood. So they go to the prison escape room. And Terasaka is manning the station in like a police uniform with
It's like
a skirt that can't be regulated.
I was gonna say like a fetish police woman uniform. I was like, I assume that if they were just getting, well, you know what, that does make sense, because I was like, you're not gonna get an accurate police costume, which would presumably have pants. So you would get like the costume from the store, or whatever, and the ones that are there are probably the sexy police officer ones.
Terasaka is a tall, athletic girl, so she was probably like, oh yeah, like getting a police uniform, no problem. Used to get those all the time when we were kids and stuff. And it's like, oh, all the ones that like actually have pants are made for people who are a foot shorter than me, so they won't fit. Guess I'll get the skirt. Thanks. Couldn't you like put it in with some different pants? No.
Yeah.
It's got to be all one thing. No, absolutely not. So Himari compliments her, which is nice. And Terasaka's like, all right, I'm the only one who knows that Himari's into Iomori, so I've got to get them together. So she handcuffs them together, of course. And she says, you got to find the key together. And Iomori's like, I figured there'd be handcuffs, like very nonchalant about it.
He's like, I assumed handcuffs would be involved once I saw the police thing.
Just not very concerned about this, which is, I mean, yes, a lot of guys would just be like, I can't believe we're handcuffed together. So points for you, Iomori's like, yeah, I guess we're fucking handcuffed together. Okay, fine. So it's an escape room thing. So they start going to solve puzzles and stuff, and they start solving stuff together. And Iomori starts to acknowledge, like, man, Yoshino's like really smiling at me a lot. And as they are like going through it, it gets to the point where it's like they seem to be on the verge of getting out, and Himari kind of like brushes her hand against Iomori's, and Terasaka can see the whole thing happening, so she's really excited for them. And they get all their stamps. Hooray! They complete the stamp drive thing. Go to get some daifuku to celebrate, or oh no, they got them as prizes, I should say. So yay, snacks! And so Iomori's like, hey, did you have fun, like, and to be a normal student at the festival? And she says, it was perfect, except I didn't get to say hi to your little sister. Aww. And when Iomori's like, why'd you want to do that? She's like, I'm your employer, obviously I wanted to do it. But she also says, like, I mean, I guess I did also want to see her when I'm looking my best. It's like, yeah, because there's so much wrong with how she looks right now. God damn it. So Iomori acknowledges, like, there's always stuff that I'm like learning about you that I just didn't know before. Like, you grabbed my hand out of nowhere with the stalls. I thought that you were in a good mood then, and then you started to zone out, and I didn't really understand what was going on. Himari says, you actually do understand me. It's just that today was special because I realized this is what it'd be like to go on a date at a school festival. Oh, goodness. Oh, really? Are you gonna... No, of course not. So immediately she's like, oh, they just felt special. Because I wasn't like a girl running her own company. I've just, got to be an average, ordinary girl. And was it special for you too? And Iomori says, I mean, every day is special to me. Because you're like this famous high school entrepreneur who has to put effort into being average. And I'm just a regular guy who gets to hang around with you. Anyway, I'm going to go over to Kanai's concert. Oh, no, the moment! Come on, guys! What are you doing?
I mean, I almost wonder if there is a level of him that isn't even considering it an option just because she does feel so much further along. Like, she's just too out of his league for it to even be, like, a consideration. Like, I don't know. There's one of those levels where, like, I don't know, if I had been, like, a kid and, I'm going to date myself here, but if Carmen Electra had walked up to me and was like, hey, let's hang out all the time, I'd be like, this is a prank show. Like, this isn't...
I'll just be like nice and respectful and stuff, and won't assume anything of it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have a cool day with Carmen Electra, fan of from NFL 2K5. That's the only thing I could think of her being in right now.
Meet the Spartans.
God, she really was in a lot of those, wasn't she?
Well, it was like her bread and butter for a while, yeah. So. Yeah, they part because Iomori's going to go to Kanai's concert, and Himari's like, yeah, I'm going with the other girls in our class. I got to meet with a group with them. But as Iomori departs, she thinks like he's always saying stuff like that, and he runs off to Honoka, and I'm left here to sulk. What would happen if I made it obvious that I like him?
Oh, see, Nick, she was also in Starsky and Hutch, the 2004 movie. So she's been in some good things. She was also in the first Good Burger movie.
I mean, if I had to watch any of those three movies,
this is brutal. I really thought she was in like some secret good shit. But it's really some fucking dog shit.
We gotta like look at one of those pages. Like, what's the highest rated movie that so and so was in? Yeah.
Oh boy, she's in an episode of BattleBots, I guess. This is rough. This is a rough filmography. Betwore
the chapter ends, Honoka is talking with Mai for a bit, and she just brings up, "Do you think that Iomori likes Kana?" And Mai's like, "I don't know. Hey, they're just putting on an act. Let's go." And Honoka's like, all right, time for the idol thing. So very full conversation they got to have, squeezed in at the end there. But she's all determined now. Honoka might be going into fight mode if she senses that someone else is gunning for Iomori.
The brutal thing is she's in Scary Movie 1 and Scary Movie 4, which are the two I don't like. I like 2 and 3. 2 doesn't age great. There's some rough parts to it. But, those I at least would be able to like defend. I don't know if I could defend anything in here. Maybe oy vey, my son is gay.
Jesus Christ. Well, are we done? Are we done talk about Odor of the Flame, Quinn? Are we gonna?
Yeah, I guess we could talk about Odor of the Flame. Man, I feel bad for Carmen Electra now.
Chapter 6, Village of Mist. All right, Odor does some training. He chops that tree in half. He balances on that blade without hurting himself. And Sixten goes, ooh, you pass. That's it. Hooray. The training is done. He accepts Odor as a warrior. He says, venture forth and fulfill your duty. And so Odor gets sent, and he's like, all right, good. With Filgia, and now I can fight together and stuff. And then Sixten goes like, oh, wait, you're going to the Ice Kingdom? Can I come with you? Anyway, here's an illustration of everybody cooking. Isn't that cute? But we get it turns out that Sixten does not go along with Oter, because he does explain off panel, like, yeah, so I got this decree from the king. He told me to go to the Ice Kingdom or whatever, but I gotta stop somewhere first. So take the boat, going ahead with Etapirco, and I'll meet you. You gotta go through Anvil Wall in Dwarf Valley. Let's meet there in 10 days. He's flying, by the way. He can just fly. It's like Superman jumping, but he's soaring through the air. Etapirco says, like, yeah, he's probably going towards some sort of battlefield to do something. The king calls on him or to make differences, battles and stuff, and he probably decided it wasn't safe for us to go with him, and that's why we're going to meet with him later, is because we're not strong enough for that kind of thing. But Oter, she takes it a bit differently, because Etapirco kind of like has that very self-conscious, like, we're not strong enough for him to rely on us. Yeah, no, just like that. And it's just we'll just get stronger then. And so they're traveling together. They're rowing in a boat. Oter tries to make conversation, say, "Why'd you become Sixten's pupil?" And Etapirco says, like, "Nah, not gonna talk about that." And she says, "Hey, you don't need to be like formal with me, by the way." And he's like, "Oh, but you're kind of like, the senior pupil and stuff." And he's like, "No, it's just like creepy. Formalities creep me out. They're like pet sayings, because deep down everyone's rude." All right. Good to know your stance on these things then, I guess. But they kind of just like agree to just like be cool with each other from that point on. Yeah. So it's interesting to just have like a very conscious decision between those, like, let's just like, we're just traveling companions now. There's a montage of them traveling for a bit as they leave the boat, trek through caves and stuff, and they stumble across a bleeding villager carrying a knife, and he says, "Don't go near the village." And so they had to say, like, "All right, calm down, what's going on?" And he says, "Oh, the Ice Kingdom took over our village several days ago. They stole our homes, they stole our food." And Etapirco is like, "Yeah, that kind of happens all the time. Just raiding a village in order to steal its supplies. Makes sense." But the man says that all the villagers have been herded into barns. They're being treated like slaves, and some of them have died just from the living conditions as a result of that. So Etapirco says, like, "Oh, so you managed to escape?" And he says, No, actually, I was allowed to leave because I'm going to go and rob the nearby village. And the reason being is, like, if all the Ice Kingdom people were like, "This is enough food, fuck you guys, we're going to start killing you next." And so, in order to get more, he's like, "We got to go and steal from someone else, otherwise they're going to murder all of us." So he tells the two of them, "Don't stop me, and don't try and call for help for us either. I don't want anyone else to just get wrapped up in this. I know that I'm doing something horrible, but they're just going to kill the others, so I don't have a choice." And he keeps on talking for a bit, and of course, Oter and Etapirco are just like, "All right, let's go." And they just start walking straight towards the village. Big bad hero, guys. And Philgia speaks up and says, like, "Well, yeah, we're on a journey to defeat the Ice Kingdom after all." And only then does the guy go, "The fire smoke!" Guess he didn't notice her head bobbing in the fire the whole time, but he seems distracted by things going on. And Etapirco says, "Don't worry, we'll make sure no more harm befalls your village." So he says, "Who are you?" And Etapirco and Oter answer, "Warriors."
See, they should have like a name so they could say the name, though.
Yeah, they can be Theo.
The ugly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Philgia, Etapirco, and Oter.
Oh, they're like, we're the uglies.
We're the uglies.
I can't say that. That's an actual movie on Netflix that's apparently older than Hunger Games and all that shit, but came out like, the movie version came out like 20 years after it was, the book was made or whatever. Yeah, they should have like a little name. They're like, "Hey, we're the Straw Hat Pirates," or something like that. Just use someone else's clout for a little bit. Like, Luffy's not going to sue you. You're in the same magazine. He's also not real. So, like, you're fine. Or just be like, "We're Konoha ninjas." Like, that series not even running anymore. You could just do whatever you want with that. That's public domain, I think.
You could just Oh, look, this name that nobody's using right now in marketing or merchandising, any of that stuff.
We're the
Just
Z.
very
We're the
generic.
Z Warriors.
We're the Mickey Mouse Club.
Yeah, you know what? Do whatever. Be like, hey, we're we're the Rebel. We're the Jedi Council and the Avengers.
We cut over to that village where the captain of the squad that is taken over, Adolf of the Icebone Casket. Got a good feeling about this guy. Only good people are named Adolf. He's tormenting some people who have been hiding medicine, and the person is just, it's just medicine for my child. It's not food for you. And the guy's like, I don't give a shit. Freezes it, and then he says, it seems you require education. Lick my boot. And he's wearing this metal boot that has ice crusting over it. And so they're like, if we lick that, then my tongue's gonna get ripped off. And the guy's like, do it. And he signals over to one of the other Ice Kingdom demons, like, yeah, fucking chop their heads off what they're doing. And he's sticking his tongue out in the way that only good people do and stuff. So both the parent and the child look like they're gonna get, their heads fucking chopped off. When Edo Pirko comes in with her blade skates, where do these come from? There was no hint of this in all the training with Odor.
It's a very interesting, it's like such a distinct and iconic weapon to have in a series where like our primary antagonist is ice. And yeah, it does feel something. I'm like, oh, you kind of just kept this one in the back burner, didn't you? Just not even like the big part of chapter 6, just a part of chapter 6. But like, by the way, she's like an ice skating fighter.
Chops off that beheading dude's head. So, what an ironic fate. And then Odor comes in and chops off Adolf's leg too. And he's like, whoa, my leg! And so like, all right, let's do this. And that's the chapter. They're fighting Ice Kingdom guys. It only took 5 chapters for us to get back to this point, Quinn.
Yeah. I do legitimately love the I'm not gonna remember her name, Eagleia or something. Ice skating girl, Ichi Pirko. I love the perspective that we keep getting in a lot of her action shots. Like, it just makes her body look very dynamic and cool. The way we'll like start with like the feet at like a close-up visual and then we'll slide in, but like it's never like a normal angle for a human body. It's always like this weird extra level, and I don't know, it just visually looks pretty cool. It's a shame Odor doesn't have anything cool like that. He just like big sword smash. But
well, he does catch the axe that she chops apart in order to slice off this demon's leg, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's not as cool as like ice skating decapitation.
Yeah, admittedly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Indeed. All right, so yeah. Syd Craft then.
Yeah, it's the final chapter of Syd Craft. Okay. What was this guy's name again?
Syd Craft. It's the final case, the great detective's final deduction. And
yeah, what was the bad guy's name? Toby,
the son of a bitch Toby who betrayed his friends. He's getting fucking to see his family in prison. This is what monsters deserve. He should be getting the chair.
Okay, God.
I don't know. I just always feel like treating this character in particular like he's the worst bad guy Jump has ever had. Like I'm a face wrestling commentator, and this guy just like, kicks Syd Craft to dick and cost him the title, and I'm just like, why, Toby? Why? You were best friends.
Now we'll never forgive you until you turn face.
Yeah. It's actually irrelevant because, it's just a short little clip to be like, hey, Toby is in prison and I guess gets to see his family. The more important thing is that Syd and Souffle get to have.
Do you think that his parents in the next page are like, why did you never visit us? You could have come and seen us anytime.
This is crazy. You've really kind of went off the deep end, dude. Visitation rates still exist. Maybe they didn't.
So
Back
you
then.
used your hypnosis powers in order to concoct an elaborate conspiracy against your two childhood friends that you allegedly like in order to make them miserable and potentially kill them. And you didn't think to write? What the fuck, Toby?
Yeah, you're just like, oh, you have time to set up all these intricate machinations, but no time to say hello to your mother, even on Mother's Day. Okay, all right, yeah, whatever. Syd and Souffle talk about things, and Souffle eventually brings up one of the Sophia books, and she just notes like, oh yeah, I've been reading on occasion ever since you took me to the theater. So they note that there's a female detective in these books, and Souffle is like, how silly it is of having somebody like her. I mean, she must be modeled after someone because she's got such a distinct personality, but the chances of a ditzy, helpless inspector like her existing in real life are slim to none. But she eventually apologizes to Syd, saying like, hey, to kind of keep up your your promise with me, you've basically had to take on all this detective stuff that you really don't fucking like. And I now know what you do like is these romance stories. And I want to know even more about what you like. And I want you to live your life liking what you like. So Syd is like, yep, well, that is why this is going to be my last case. And I'm retiring as a detective because I made a promise a long time ago that on the day that I found someone I love from the bottom of my heart, I would quit being a detective and I would live peacefully with that someone. So Souffle, what I'm saying is, and he leans in to give her the kiss that seals that she is the one who wins the harem. Oh wait, I've turned the page.
Aishi Susui's like, no,
Yeah.
no, I refuse. You can't make me only have one ending. Fuck you.
It does appear, Nick, that I've turned the page, and that is not going to be what happens. Elio shows up, steals Syd away, says, we're going to continue our fictional relationship then. Mist Cat shows up and steals him away, and she's like, no, I'm going to steal him and seduce him. And then Hakua shows up, and then all the minor characters show up, and then Syd Craft's parents show up to be like, oh my, isn't this quite a situation? And then Lulu's mom shows up just so we can get, I guess, what would have been her backstory to be like, she partially hates their family because she hit on Syd Craft's dad and he turned her down. Anyway, Syd interrupts all this to be like, look, I'm sorry, everybody. I've made up my mind. There's someone I've fallen for, and that person is indeed among us here. It's you. And he goes to point, but then the book all the scuffle got knocked into the air, hits him on the head. I guess it's made of like iron because it knocks him out for a moment. He just lands on the ground and points his finger towards the female detective. And when he wakes up, all the girls are swarming all over him because Elio assumes him pointing at the book meant she's the one he loves because she's the one who wrote the book. And Lulu thinks it must mean her because she and Syd met over that book series. And none of them failed to note, or both of them failed to notice that she was actually pointing to the female inspector on the cover of the book. Souffle.
Also, Mr. Luce is like, well, if it's the book that you bought it over, there's a chance it could be me then. He's got a point.
I was going to say, he has a very strong argument there, honestly. Souffle comes up and starts giving him like a chokehold, and she's like, oh, is this your dream? And he's like, no, he's really sad about it. But then Lulu's like, Mr. Detective, you're wrong. I guess she can read his mind. Because he doesn't say any of this part out loud.
Because he's being rear naked choked. He can't say any of this.
So Lulu, with her telepathic connection she's developed, notes this is how Souffle expresses her love, referencing the chapter a while back. And in a truly bizarre moment, Souffle says, I told you, Sai, from now on, I want you to live your life and keep on liking what you like. Which is why, if you think the four of us should live together, I'm A-okay with that. And that's how the series ends, with Syd being like, I guess I'll go back to detective doing for a little while. And
yeah, hold on. Why did we reach this conclusion? He said he was going to stop.
This is truly one of the most baffling parts of this series is they're like, actually, to keep the harem intact, we're going to roll back on all that. But he's also going to be a detective again, a thing he adamantly hates because that's what keeps the harem together. And yeah, I guess he is just, I guess Ninja is saying he's instinctively drawn to the case. So you can't truly stop a great detective like Syd Craft.
Obviously, the only time to resolve things is not the end. That's stupid.
Well, look. Some would say this is a very funny way to end it. This is certainly more memorable than if it had just been souffle. Not that I'm saying that's the better option. I think just ending it with the souffle stuff honestly was kind of nice. But it is very, very funny that souffle comes in and is like, I know I was going to have you all to myself, but if you want these two other girls to live with us, I guess, well, I've kind of made it clear I'm not, like, I want a monogamous thing, then, like, sure, let's complicate this shit for a couple years, I guess.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Yeah, so that's the end of Syd Craft, everybody. What do we think about Syd Craft? I think that I am not shocked that the series ended the time that it did. There were a lot of times when we were covering it that I was like, it's just it doesn't have the same magic to it. Hell, we were kind of unsure about even picking it up to begin with because it just kind of like wasn't really clicking. And then every now and again,
then Scissor Leg showed up, and we had such a great time.
Every now and again, there would be things that's like, all right, yeah, this is fun. We can keep on going and just kind of endure the dull patches. But those did seem to get more and more frequent up until we had this ending run where things were getting more interesting because, like, well, there couldn't be any more of this fucking around doing nothing because we had to just, like, do a climax. And so that happened. There were still problems with it, obviously. And now it's over. And look, I know that Taishi Tsutsui is very talented. We have seen evidence of that in the past. I feel like they'll be back at some point. I'm not gonna like shed any tears over this being over, though. I feel like this was kind of like the right amount for us to get of Syd Craft. I don't think that there was a whole lot that we really missed out on by not getting any more.
I think Syd Craft was unfortunately a victim of not starting off on a super strong note, and because of that, it kind of was constantly readjusting itself. I think Syd Craft would have been a more enjoyable series as just a mystery series that occasionally had harem elements in it. And then at some point it was like, ooh, well, let's try pushing the harem elements forward more. Like, let's stop solving cases. Like, here's a big sister character. Like, let's just do like a bunch of this stuff. And I think that kind of lost a lot of the series' identity as it went on. But as it is, it's fine. You know, I think there are some brief moments that are pretty good in Syd Craft, but by and large, it just didn't really work. But made for some fun recap. So there you go.
Madcap Misery is in this chapter as well. She has one line and barely shows up.
But there is no text box to remind us that she is inherently a good girl.
Yeah, that was nice. All right. Goodbye, Syd Craft. Let's move on to Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi, Chapter 48, The Gambler's Creed. All right. Mukurojima is doing a thing with Yuta, who opens up his shirt and he's got like a lock sigil on him. And Mukurojima pulls out a skeleton key and unlocks that lock within Yuta's chest, which makes him take his demonic form. He's got bat wings and black arms, whatever. It's not a
Nick, what do you mean? It's very iconic, this character, Yuta. We know so much about him.
It's the wicked gate technique, and Mukurojima is like, so Sakaki brings out high stakes, rolls his dice, and he's like, when I bring you back, there's going to be consequences, Yuta. And Yuta fires a finger beam thing at him, but of course, Sakaki's fine. When the smoke clears, high stakes has taken the form of this massive cleaver. It looks a lot like Ichigo's cleaver, his Shikai.
Sure.
But with a different blade pattern. And he says, I've rolled a 6, so here's my execution cleaver. And he starts to attack, but Mukurajima somehow manages to bond him up with these sealing talisman things. So Sakaki flips the blade down to his foot and kicks it up through Mukurajima.
That's pretty cool.
Move. Blocks Yuta's follow-up attack, but High Stakes warns him like, this is bad. This roll is just a slow death. This isn't a good enough roll for us. So Sakaki says, okay, it's been almost 3 minutes now, so we'll settle this with the next roll. But Yuta says, like, oh, what? You think you're going to get that 4, 5, 6 instant win again? That's only a 3% chance. You're not that lucky. Sakaki says, Yuta, you used to be my partner. You should know better. I'm a gambler. The odds don't matter. I only believe in fate. He rolls 1, 2, and 4, which is not a combination at all, so he gets absolutely nothing. No preset power.
Any idea what this game is? Like, can we intuit any logic to why 1, 2, 4 is the worst combination you can get?
Because it's like if you got a 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 in your hand. It's almost a straight, but it's not. So instead, you just got no matches.
Okay. Gotcha.
It's like
it's the lowest possible with nothing in it. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So High Stakes gets really pissed off, and Sakagi's like, "Oh my god, all that big talk, and you got that kind of roll? You don't have any preset power for 124 seconds now. You're screwed." And Sakagi's like, "It'll work itself." Lights up a cigarette, super casual about it. So you're just like, today is the day you die. Starts launching attacks at him. You can't run away now. And Sakaki says, just run away. Don't be stupid. He just starts running straight towards Yuta and says, did you really forget? Even without preset power, I'm plenty strong. And he just punches Yuta in the fucking face. But it's still not good for Sakaki because it is still a 2-on-1 battle. And Mukurajima recovers from the cleaver attack. Comes up on him. He's got like all these skull heads that are gonna blast him with lasers. Sakaki manages to duck behind some sort of vault door. I guess it's a sign that fell off of a building from somewhere. It looks like. So he just keeps on running, and we just get a montage of him just evading attacks until the 2 minutes pass, and he's a bit beaten up by the end of it. But he's like, you guys just blew your once-in-a-lifetime chance. And Mukurajima's like, what the fuck? How do we kill this guy? And Sakaki says, look, gambling's all about having the faith to put everything on the line. Yuta, you ought to try having a bit of faith again. Like they say, the true believers will be saved. And he rolls again. High Stakes says, man, you really hit it big, didn't you? And Sakaki reveals that he got triple 4s, 3 of a kind. And so he pulls out the wicked Trifu Naginata. Whatever that means.
It's real dangerous.
He snaps the Naginata around a bit, cuts through the air, and there is a really cool panel layout for this because it's like an immediate transition in the pattern of his cut, showing how it's going to cut Mukurajima. He has enough time to go, huh? And then he's just in pieces in the next shot. And Yuta's not doing so well either. He took like a grazing blow and his wings got cut off. Looks like his arms got cut off too in the shot we see of him afterwards as well. So Yuta collapses and Sakaki declares, it's over. Come home. The sister wouldn't have wanted this either. Hey, Sakaki got to be strong. Who would have seen it coming?
Good for him. I think I like it when characters do have like a gambling gimmick, so I was behind that part of the chapter. I don't find Sakaki super captivating as a character yet, but he generally worked for me. I am excited to get a Yuta flashback of some sort. I want to know more about this character. I feel like he should be very significant in this world, and I feel like I know nothing about him since he's shown up beyond he used to be Sakaki's apprentice.
Yeah, I get that too. There should be like some sort of thing to help you like draw parallels between him and Kiyoshi, Sakaki's current apprentice, and we just don't really know enough about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I would just love to know like why his brain works the way it does. Like it would be nice to maybe have gotten this flashback and then had the fight or something like that. But I also understand this series is trying to keep momentum right now, and stopping in the middle of your big arc to do a flashback is not the best way to do that.
I'm glad we got this explanation in terms of the faulty dice roll, because it does give us an example of like, okay, this was a fight that Sakaki knew that he was strong enough to survive, even if he got that. But what if he's ever put in a situation where he absolutely has to get that killer roll? Then there is going to be some sense of tension to that, because we're going to know, oh, he literally won't be able to draw out his power at all for 2 minutes if that happens. So it's a good sort of priming.
All right, MarriageToxin, Nick.
MarriageToxin.
MarriageToxin.
Shiori has just given her explanation to Gera about why things are going bad for her, that she's got to sort things out at her company, and that's why she asked, hey, I don't think I can see you for a bit, sorry. Because her company's struggling so much. Well, fucking her ideas are getting stolen by everyone. And she thinks to herself as she says this, like, I can't let myself rely on Gera when it comes to my business. Fortunately, she does at least finally clean the yakisoba out of her hair, so she's not just going to have that in her hair the entire rest of the arc. So she starts kind of like thinking to herself about all the things that they're going to need to do, and Gero says to her, is like, hey, look, I'm not really an expert when it comes to running a business, but I understand that improving operations is important, but when you're working with the resource you've already got, there's only so much you can do. So maybe that guy at a point, when he was telling you had to come up with something that they can't copy in order to turn your fortunes around. And she was like, what kind of product would that be, though? Gera's like, I don't know. And very tellingly, Gera goes, what would Kinosaki do? Because that's just kind of like the direction that he's going in. Shiori's like, all right, well, thank you for the suggestion. I better go and get to work. And she almost faints all of a sudden. She's like, I haven't really eaten much since yesterday. So Gera's like, okay, listen, can I have 3 hours of your time? I want to take you somewhere. And he takes her to an acupuncture clinic, which surprises Shiori because she's like, what kind of place is this exactly? Gets there, and there is a scary specialty user with needles, and his hair needles. It's all very pointed straight and sticking straight up. And she's freaked out by the guy, and we get a shot of her like as she's like clinging onto Gera like a toddler, basically. Like the hoodie like becomes a onesie on her.
Yeah.
She clings onto his arm. So Gera says, hey, it's okay. I'm sorry he startled you. He's a needle user. He's a work colleague of mine. And the guy who was being acupunctured before gets up, like skin all gleaming and shiny, feeling all great after the acupuncture session. This guy is Hayato Tsunagi, who introduced himself, along with his 3 kids, who all have the same hair. Those poor children. And he's like, yeah, I got 3 kids to feed, so whenever I don't have specialty work, I just keep this clinic going. Shiori's still a little bit worried, and Gera's like, hey, look, I understand what you're going through. I've actually been there myself recently. I was, rushing. I was going in circles. And I don't have a solution to your problems right now. But I know that rest and relaxation are essential to you. And Shiori recalls her uncle telling her the same thing at one point. Of course, he put it into workout terms. We see a flashback where he says, like, I've always thought building a business is like building muscle. If you want to bulk up further, cheat days are a must. And so Shiori is like, okay, let's do it. I'm in. Big gleaming smile. She's so cute. And she's like, I've always wanted to try this thing. And so she lays down for the acupuncture, and immediately Hayato goes over to her and is like, oh, wow, your brain is exhausted. How are you even going at this point? And she kind of chuckles like, and he's like, no, you shouldn't be happy about this. You've been driving yourself ragged. In the background, 2 of the kids are playing a card game with Gero. And of course, In typical adult fashion, he's like, "What is this? I don't know what these are," because it's a trading card game of some kind.
Mm.
Hayato starts doing the acupuncture, and Shiori feels the tension melting away from her body. And the next thing she knows, she's waking up, and she's hungry. She's actually got an appetite again. So she's all refreshed, and Garo says, "Oh, well, we got some takeout here from the Taste Users Pub." That guy's showing up again. So there's a ton of different food, like from different cultures, and there's haggis next to baba ganoush. So there's a lot of food, and she's really excited to try it all. So there's a huge spread laid out. She starts digging in, and again, Garo's briefly thinking about Kinosaki, being like, "Oh, kind of wish Kinosaki was here to taste this too."
That's a very platonic thing to do, where you start thinking about how you wish somebody was with you when they're not there.
At all times. Yeah. So Shiori's like, "That was so good. Thank you so much for Garo." But Garo says like, "Oh, it was actually a friend. Actually, it was the sound user who attacked you before. He's the one who taught me about the importance of rest." And so Shiori's like, "Oh, okay, yeah." But then she gets embarrassed because she's like, "Oh, I made you spend so much time like looking after me." And Garo says, "Hey, aren't we like past that point? You can rely on me for anything. I'll always give it my all." Aw, that's sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then she like kind of like grabs his hand and he gets shy again because he is still that kind of guy. So they start to leave. Garo thanks the needle user, but then he says to Shiori, "Hey, I know that Garo's kind of weird sometimes, but I hope you don't get tired of being around him." And Shiori gives him this big smile and whispers to him, "I would never get tired of him. After all, you don't get to meet a guy this wonderful every day." Aww.
Aww.
But one of the sons steps forward, Swirly Glasses' son, as a gift for her. And he says, "This is for you. It's a 10 billion% energy regain card." It seems to be a custom-made thing. I think that he like just drew it himself.
Yeah,
based on
the dad specifically says looks like he drew that one himself.
Oh, gotcha. So it's very cute gesture from this guy. It's like, "Hey, here, feel better. I made you this card." It's very sweet. And then all of a sudden things click in Shiori's head. All the different things that Garo was talking about, not just Hayato, but also the taste user, the sound user from before, the trading game, Garo, the idea that she's got to come up with something before. And she also thinks about how this is like, oh, it's friendship. This has appeal for kids and adults. And then she's like, this is it. This will get Balzac's comeback going. Garo-san, I have a favor to ask. Can you help me develop a new specialist-inspired product? I want to make a card game of professionals, the specialist masters. She's got this big, determined look on her face as all these ideas are swimming through her mind to make a trading card game based on Garo and his peers. And Garo's like, "Leave it to me."
Yeah.
So, yeah, excellent.
Hope Garo's coworkers don't mind their entire business kind of being outed and turned into a card game.
Yeah. Assassins don't operate in the shadows, do they?
I mean, that dude just had like a job, so like I don't think any of them like, you know, you catch it on the right day, Ushino might be like your Uber ride, you know, like just happens sometimes.
I like this chapter. Sweet.
Yeah.
Furthers a lot of different things in a very short span of time, and there's some cute stuff.
Now, Nick, what deck do you think you would main in the specialist card game that doesn't exist yet?
It depends on a lot of things, honestly. I always feel whenever I play in that one of those kind of things, I don't gravitate towards a very specific strategy. I often kind of go off of vibes, honestly.
Okay, fair. I'm going to play Mill. I don't know if Mill's even in the game, but I'm going to make it happen.
Mill can be a very fun strategy with the right setup. It's very tricky because, like, a lot of times it feels like you're kind of delaying, and a lot of the ones that like make it active are just actually very boring and repetitive. There's a very weird balance that's got to be struck.
Well, here's my secret tech, and don't spread this around. I'm trying to keep it on the down low, but I find Mill has like a really great hidden strategy to it, where if you're ever losing, you could just eat your opponent's cards, and then they'll mill out faster. Like if I get there,
over the table. Oh.
Yeah, I just eat 30 of their cards, and I'm like, not looking so good now, are you?
Like, what was that you just said?
And I just start vomiting up cards on the table. I'm like, they still count.
Right,
you can't put those back. Nope.
It's very clear in the rules. No bile in the deck.
I partially digested those cards. They're marked now.
You're not gonna get the rest of this back for 8 hours, baby.
Yeah.
All right, last chapter for the week, because there is no One Piece this week.
2 chapters.
Akane-banashi.
2 chapters. There's 2 chapters, Nick.
Nope. No, there's not.
Well, there's something before Akane-banashi.
Nope. No, there's not. No, Quinn.
No, there was a new chapter, Nue Sexorcist. Don't you remember?
No.
It's about your favorite joke, Nick. You love piss jokes. You love them.
Ever.
You're
accuse me of that atrocity.
You're constantly.
I would rather be accused of murder than anyone.
You're constantly laughing at piss jokes when characters piss themselves. You're like, that's really funny and clever. This chapter's characters swimming in piss, and I'm sure you were just losing it at that point. Someone just gifted a tier sub to Piss Baby, so good for them.
When our friendship has endured a lot, and I would hate for you to destroy it right now in this moment, so please stop.
Okay. I'm going to assume then you weren't a huge fan of the piss joke chapter then.
Jesus Christ. Chapter 102 of Nue Sexorcist.
We can skip it. We don't have to recap it.
Baby fills room with pee. Yeah. Lasers. And then it ends on what's her face? Mommy. Anyway, her ass shows up when the scene shifts, as she demands for Ryusei to resurrect her first. Guys, I don't know what Nue Sexorcist is. I don't know what this series is. The baby pees until it grows wings. Hooray. And then another captain shows up and stops the pee laser to show how competent she is. I'm going to just be grateful that my mind can't comprehend this, and I'll be worried if my mind ever does.
Are you bummed this is already run for like 5 times the amount of time as Embers?
Times as long as Embers. 5 times as long as Embers.
This is like 5 Embers. This is like 4 greens. It's, I didn't honestly look. Hating this chapter is such a weird. I don't know if I can, because this chapter feels like it's so obviously like a shit post. Like it's just the characters talking about piss over and over and over again.
That's the thing, Quinn. Is that I'm totally fine with hating Nue Sexorcist all the time, because it does so on a level I can engage with. But when you go, the room fills with pee, and they have to fight their way out of the indestructible room that they specifically went into because the pee baby would destroy any other room, and they're going to drown in the pee if they don't get out of it. What do I do with that?
What you do?
I don't know.
What you do is you go to our Discord and you look up the video that Molderman put together for this. It's very, very funny. It used the My Hero theme. It really does feel like a culmination of the piss guy jokes that our Discord has been doing all the time. And for Molderman and the fans of Nue Sexorcist, I'm very glad they had this chapter. As for me, this series just like rockets back and forth between like being a harem.
Quinn, someone is piss baby in the chat. You need to ban them, please.
I don't know who they are, and if they haven't said anything, that feels cruel. I I will just say that it jumps back and forth between a lot of different tones. So I'm not sure. Like, I guess we're going into like a serious training arc of some kind with the captain next time, but I don't know. It just is. It's a chapter about piss babies.
Oh, they don't even need to be here. So not only has Piss Baby ruined my life, but apparently they're getting a random.
Oh, piss baby's cool, and they don't wonder why they got a tier 1 sub to my channel.
God. All right.
Akane-banashi, Nick.
Akane-banashi. As I was saying,
weirdly, more piss in this chapter. Didn't think it was possible, but Akane-banashi 162 is the piss chapter. All right, I'm gonna stop.
Story 162 better than that. Yes, it is. Character popularity poll results are shared on the front page here. Kanai won. My character got second. Kokomo got third. That seems about right.
But where did
just news results though?
Yeah, where did Kaichi rank? Because I voted for him every day.
Only the top 3. Quinn.
No, you got to be able to see all the results. Hold on.
I'm sure that they're somewhere.
I'm going to find them. Akane-banashi popularity poll results. I'm going to find them.
Okay. So it's after the performance that in the round of the Zwiyun Prize, and some of the journalists are talking afterwards, and one of them says, like, yeah, I thought that Akane had the most impressive.
Do you want me to give you the rest of the top 10?
Top 10, go ahead.
Okay. Karashi is 4. Shigemo is 5. Akari is 6. Rokuro, I think is his name, is 7. The guy who was like revealed with headphones the first time. Then it's the other guy in her school.
Jumbo.
The seduction guy.
Oh,
under Isho. 9 is Chocho, and 10 is Lady Rakugo, whose name I've forgotten.
Well, you also forgot Hikaru, so that's fine.
I said Akari. Didn't I say her name?
You said Akari. Her
Who
name
gives
is
a shit? Who gives a shit, Nick? It's all the same.
You're like, all these people are not Kaichi. That's all that's important.
He 22? He only got 196 votes. I'm like fucking 30 of them. God damn it. No one likes the characters I like.
Oh my god. That's really upsetting. You had like a 6th of the votes.
I was a very substantial amount of his votes.
You're like, why from here? You're like, why son from Nisekoi?
I'm just gonna start voting for all my schlubby guys to just get them to the top of my series. Like, I want to see my little guys happy. Quinn-chan from Pennsylvania with another.
Jumbo got top 20. Holy shit.
He did.
Oh my god. All right. That's the popularity poll. All right. Moving on back to the actual chapter. So the guy saying that Akane was the most impressive is returned with, yeah, but competitions are an entertainment product. People want fun, not impressive. The top 2 folks worked the crowd, put on a satisfying show. She's really skilled, but I don't think she can win the Zwiyun Prize with this. And of course, again, we know Akane got only 5th in the competition. So she is left, walking by herself. She's like, I was going for it. I pulled out all the stops, but she stops herself from that. And she's like, I gotta keep on going. I knew there would be high hurdles facing me. I still came intending to win. That strategy didn't work. I'll try something else. So what do I change? What can I even do? But before she can ponder that any further, she comes across Karashi and Hikaru in the hallway. And Hikaru says, what were you thinking earlier today? And Akane is like, well, obviously my results weren't great, but tomorrow. And Hikaru's like, no, that ain't what I mean. And she's so upset that her accent stays for like the entire rest of the chapter. She doesn't ever get a hold of it again. Hikaru looks at her like she's like hurt and accusing, and Karashi says, yeah, it felt wrong. You were trying to blow away the audience with that weird technique. Let me guess. They told you to go out and win this thing without making the audience laugh, right? And Akane can't contradict him. She just says nothing. So Hikaru says, so what's that about? You said you come beat me, and was that just a lie? And Akane's like, no, I'm serious. Well, then you put all you got into it already. Not making people laugh. What is that? I ain't gonna be happy beating someone who ain't even trying. You have any idea how much I've been looking forward to this? This ain't the showdown I wanted to have. And so she's really pissed off that her rival is not taking this seriously. And Karashi brings it back in because he just says like, oh, so you bound out of the competition? Because I'm still going to win tomorrow. It gives her a big shit-eating grin. Like, no, I'm part of this rivalry too. You guys stop it. Fuck you guys. So he says it doesn't even matter. Even if she did try her best, I would still win. So Hikaru growls at him and says like, hey, you wanted to be opponents. So yeah. He looks at Akane and then steps away from the wall and says, that was the first time I got to hear you perform in a while. And I gotta be honest, didn't surpass my expectations. You got better, yeah, but you're not standing head and shoulders above us like you were at the Karaku Cup. I'm not interested in the slightest in whatever you got going on in your life, but all the same, are you sure this is what you want? I hardly consider you an opponent at this point. So it clearly does affect him. He's just keeping a much better lid on it than Hikaru is.
Mm-hmm.
Kane thinks for a bit, and she says, I am here to win this event, like you. I'm not changing my strategy. Instead, I'm going to show you both. Karashi, Hikaru, I'll beat you both and demonstrate my true growth. She doesn't look great when she's saying it, though. Her eyes don't have any light in them when she says it. It sort of seems like the thing she's just saying to keep up appearances. Preliminary round, of course, is at an end. Kashio is writing up his report on it. And he notes, of course, that Karashi and Hikaru excelled. And he's like, okay, yeah, I wrote the basic summary of everything. But he looks at the results, sees Akane's name down in 5th again. And he says, you would think that she's not like a contender to win this at this stage. But knowing her the way I do, I can't help but get my hopes up. I know she's better than that. I know that Akane Harakawa can do it. We cut over to Akane. She is on the beach. She is standing in the surf, the water trickling over her ankles. And Tyson approaches her, runs over to her and says like, hey, look, I know that sucked, but we gotta get back. But he stops when he realizes that she is muttering to herself. No context for what it is, but she is seemingly rehearsing or going over something in her mind very intensely.
She's summoning Ra. We already mentioned it. You have to be able to recite the entire poem that brings Ra forth, and she's making sure she doesn't forget anything.
That'll be one way to win the competitions. Like, yeah, I guess my Rakugo's not as good, but guess what? Raw!
Obliterate! Slifer the Sky Dragon! She just plays all the god cards.
All of them.
Yeah, she would be the kind of do that.
Yeah, that's the chapter of Akane-banashi. Well, okay.
Yeah, I honestly don't have a ton of thoughts on it. I do like that, like, Karashi and Hikaru, is that her name?
Yes.
Okay. That they both are able to recognize that Karashi and his friend are both able to recognize like what's going on. I guess that's how I'm going to constantly refer to her now. I do appreciate that they were able to pick up like, hey, obviously you were trying for something and it didn't work. And we know you can do better, but they're rivals, so they got to be Karashi has to be a little shitty about it. I do appreciate that, but as a whole, this chapter didn't give us a ton. Like, I am like, I wonder what Akane's doing, but I assume we'll just find out next chapter. It doesn't leave me like lingering for the answer.
I like the chapter in terms of the renewing of the focus on Akane's rivalry with the two of them. Because it is clear that the focus of the build to this point was, oh man, can Akane do this while she's got these limiters on her? Is she going to be able to actually meet this trial? And so that took away from the fact that, this is a rivalry, the first time that they're all three going to be at heads with each other in a long time. And because she's doing this special trial thing, of course Hikaru is going to take the way of like, are you not fucking taking this seriously? That like we're trying to like actually overcome each other. You're doing your own stupid thing instead of that. She feels disrespected by that, and I like that Akane doesn't have an answer for it. It was nice to have that tension between them, and just to ramp the tension up further. Leading into what is hopefully going to be Akane's ultimate triumph. So I appreciated the chapter in terms of bringing that element into things. Even though it doesn't progress what's Akane going to do, it still builds on that sense of failure that she has at this stage and hopefully what she's going to accomplish next.
Indeed. All right. That's going to do it for the manga recap. We have to give our favorites an MVP. Favorite chapter this week for me is going to be Ichi the Witch because it was super satisfying from beginning to end. Really, really cool.
I'm going to give mine to Embers. There were a number of good chapters this week, but I don't know, that sense that I had when Haitani goes up and he heads the ball in, and you get that moment of like, no, they're winning in this moment. That really did feel like this is a taste of the highs that this series could have had. And it comes at the moment when you really do want to have something like that for a series that is staring down cancellation, is just to go out on that high note and make people regret that they're not paying more attention to it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I think for my MVP, honestly, part of me is like, maybe I should give it to Haitani for Embers because he's pretty cool in this chapter. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll give it to Haitani from Embers because he was very, very cool, and I do like that header.
There's a lot of things that I could give this to. It feels like at this point, but I'm gonna give mine to Shiori because she was cute. There's a lot of just like nice moments that she has in this chapter of MarriageToxin. It's nice to see like her run that full, down all the way up, and seeing the transformation just in her expressions. A lot of it was a fun chapter, and a lot was because you were experiencing it. You're kind of going on the ride with Shiori as the mood picked up.
The audience, by the way, picked Ichi the Witch as the chapter of the week, and Raishia from Ichi the Witch as character of the week.
Ah, nice. All right. Guys, that's going to do it for the show. So thank you all for joining us. We'll be back next week with more Manga Talkie Times here on twitch.tv/ReloT. We record the show live Wednesdays at around 7:30 Eastern Time. If you want to know exactly when the show is going live, you can follow us on social media. ReloT, Nick F Time, and Weekly Manga Recap is the main account. There's also the WMR Votes BlueSky account run by Ninja X3i, where you can vote week to week on who your MVP and favorite series choices were. We also have a Discord server, which is linked wherever this is posted to. Join in on that, talk about the chapters as they come out. Other things, there's game nights and stuff that our community has, and also you can use that to find the Google Doc, also maintained by Ninja X3i, keeps track of all sorts of statistics associated with the show, suggestions, recommendations for manga that we might look into in the future, all that kind of stuff. So look into that. The show gets posted to weeklymangarecap.podbean.com if you want the audio version. It's also got podcast feed type things like iTunes, Spotify, if you prefer to listen to your podcasts on those platforms. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/weeklymangarecap. If if you want to rewatch any of the video versions of the podcast. And those feature an opening sequence by Milo Jack Stillitz and Winslow Cheddar, and occasionally title cards by Steve Mann, whose work you can check out by just searching for Steve Mann art. It posts in a number of different places. All right.
All right.
Going to do it for us this time.
Yes.
Patreon. We also have a Patreon. Patreon.com/weekthemanga recap, where we post on a roughly monthly basis bonus episodes. If you want to help financially support the show, you get those as well.
Yes. All right. Let's get to do it. I don't have anything else to say, Nick. Let's get out of here. So you can go back to your cat, and I can go back to my cat.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Goodbye.